the paycheck protection program that it was putting through the SBA, the Small Business Administration. This was a program that the president had. Gosh, was it three weeks ago? I guess 2 or 3 weeks ago that he announced that it was getting put together, and then they put the application up, and this was a way to recognize that here small businesses, this is the main engine of the economy. They do comprise the majority of jobs and business here, and they were wanting to add additional funding to this, to the Paycheck Protection Act, or to these businesses. They wanted to add additional funding to this, and you had a big bad fight that happened in the Senate, and as a result, it didn't happen, which is unfortunate, because I think that, any normal day of the week, I would have been upset over the idea of putting money into a pot and acting like, too big to fail and all of that. And I still dislike it. I still think to an extent that this is wealth redistribution, because, you're talking about taking money away from everyone and giving it out to everybody else. You're just cutting people checks. I mean, that's ultimately what it is. You just got to realize it. That's what it is. And we're in a pandemic, so you can't object on any economic principle. You can't separate the two. It's impossible, because the left has made it to where nuance is dead. You can't ask questions about how is this going to, the loans, how is this going to, how we can't just print money and just shower money upon people. How is this going to work out? And also, by the way, you can't go forward on this. And I'm sure that this is what Steve Mnuchin and others are thinking about. And the president is expected to announce a secondary council. And I think it's going to be an economic council. He's been advised by a lot of people, this is something you need to undertake, because we're at the point now where people are questioning whether or not we need to be this severe in terms of restrictions and isolations and quarantines. We can't destroy our economy, because you're going to see a lot more deaths that way. So you've had an additional, 6 million people that applied for unemployment. And over the last month, you've had a little over 17 million Americans that have lost their jobs because of a forced government shutdown. And the package that was going through, it was new paycheck protection funding. And that it did not work. Democrats blocked it. Oh boy, the press conference tonight. We'll see how that goes, right? We'll see how that goes. But the Paycheck Protection Act, Forbes has a good write-up on it if you have questions about it, and I can link it up at danalash.com as well. But when in the CARES Act, it was a portion of the CARES Act, and the CARES Act is, the long version is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security. So the CARES Act is the Paycheck Protection Program is part of that, and it was something like $350 billion in forgivable loans that, as I understand it, they would be just treated as grants ultimately, that were given to these businesses so that they could still actually keep doors open theoretically, and then actually open them when this shutdown is finished.
And keep their employees.
Yeah. Well, and it was nonprofits and small businesses that have 500 or fewer employees. So those were the ones who were eligible through the Paycheck Protection, the program. And it included independent contractors, it included sole proprietors, all kinds of stuff. And I had the application online because I was looking at the application. Not that, technically I could, we could probably, but I'm just saying I was looking at the application, and because I was curious as to what they were asking and what sort of requirements and all of that stuff. It was one loan per business, and you had to have your taxpayer identification number. So whatever you use for your business, you had to have that to apply. And they would get about 2.5 times, as I understand it, 2.5 times the average monthly payroll costs for the previous calendar year. So it's up to 10 million. So it needed more. That was something that Mnuchin had said last week, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday, when he was at the press conference with Trump, and he made mention that he was asked by a reporter about this, because and he had said, we're going to need more. And the big issue, one of the big issues, is that Democrats were looking at this as another opportunity, again, We don't need any more $35 million Kennedy Center funding when they have an enormous endowment, multi-million dollar endowment. And you don't need to be funneling it off to any more special interests. You need to get it to the people who are keeping the economy going, because you shut down their business and you confiscated through an economic eminent domain, and I'm going to keep saying it, the ability for them to earn money and conduct business. So as a result, you're giving what you took from them. And I'm going to be real with you. If governments knocked off all the stupid entitlement spending, it would not be as much of a struggle for them with this. But you have people like Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats out there that are insisting, and I'm not saying that Republicans don't do it, but in this instance, Republicans did put forth a clean bill, and it was Democrats, because you can go you can actually go to Senate.gov, House.gov, and you can look at every single motion. People forget that you can do this. You can also go to, Thomas.loc. You can also follow along through the Thomas site, and you can see what's added, what's taken out, the latest version, the oldest version, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can follow it through the entire process of getting to the floor for a final vote. So there was a lot of pork being added to that. And this is not the time to do it. Trump is going to have some words. I haven't looked to see if he's tweeted about it, but he's going to have some words.